What day is it? How long have I been in here?
Hi everyone, Woodthany Bang Tano here, the internet's busiest music nerd. And it's time for a review of the new Pond album. Man, it feels like space again. These guys are a Perth psychedelic rock and pop band. They have been at it since the late 2000s. And when it comes to that vintage psychedelic sound, garage rock, they really know these genres, these styles like the back of their hands. They have a lot of reverence for these musical movements. You can tell this just from the fact that the cover of this new album over here resembles very closely the front cover of the Big Brother and the Holding Company album Cheap Thrills. Also, this band has numerous connections to another Australian psychedelic music heavyweight, Tame Impala, namely the fact that Kevin Parker used to be in the band, the mastermind of Tame Impala, and also known for his part in Melody's Echo Chamber, but he also has produced numerous Pond albums, even this new one right here. But Pond also pulls quite a bit of stylistic influence from their contemporaries as well. Bands like Flaming Lips, the falsetto vocals moaning very faintly amongst a very generally psychedelic collection of rock instrumentation, expansive, expressive guitar solos, some pretty keyboards, some chaotic jams. Remind me quite a bit of Flaming Lips on records like Beards and Wives and Denim, as well as Hobo Rocket. Occasionally the band's jams might get a little too chaotic for a truly vintage sound, or their experiments might just get a little too weird, but for the most part I find Pond to be revivalists when it comes to that psych pop, psych rock sound. However, I've never really been super wowed or impressed with their vocals or lyrics or songwriting. They aren't terrible, they're not god-awful, it's not like they put me off of enjoying a Pond record, but I've never really listened to a Pond record all the way through feeling completely fulfilled. I've always left wanting more, and that is also the case for this new LP over here. Even though I think in a lot of ways this album is a bit of an improvement upon what they've done in their past releases. This record features a change of pace that really perked my ears up. For one, there are numerous tracks on this album that feature very punchy, warm, just very compressed, funky drum beats and grooves. Something I would expect instead on like an Unknown Mortal Orchestra record. And with the just very glossy, pretty, enveloping synthesizers all over this album, I actually think Pond takes a step towards sounding a little bit more like Tame Impala. And there are some moments on this record where I'm reminded of some of the dreamier, contemporary indie rock and pop acts coming out of the US right now, like Smith Westerns or even Mac DeMarco on the second track here, Elvis's Burning Star. If you've heard Mac DeMarco's past two albums, the vocals on this track are just a dead ringer for his delivery. And with the very driving bass line and the hard beats on this track, it's like I'm almost listening to a more upbeat version of DeMarco's usual shtick. And then with the song Zond, I feel like I'm listening to a kind of a trippy, surreal, watery Strokes. There are some kind of stiff drums on this track, some buzzing guitar leads that sound like they could have fit in very nicely into the Room on Fire repertoire. It's one of the catchier tracks in the track listing here, and I'm loving the kind of stuttering, glitchy vocal edits on this song, as well as some of the strange, serene, and ethereal interludes the song just dips into so suddenly. They really play with momentum very nicely in this track. And that's the thing. While Pond doesn't have the best vocals or the best songwriting I've heard in a record of this genre, I like what they're doing instrumentally much of the time, and the way that they're just experimenting with sound on some of these very fun and colorful tracks. Where the record really starts to lack for me is on the slower songs here. And I definitely appreciate the variety the band is trying to bring with these tracks, but on every slow burner here, I just feel myself tuning out a little bit. Without the excitement of the more visceral songs, I'm sort of forced to focus on the songwriting a little bit more, like on songs such as Holding Out for You. But on this track as well, the playing is really loose, and the way the instrumentation comes together, the song just feels kind of unkempt and in kind of an unflattering way. And I feel roughly the same about the song Sitting Up on Our Crane, though I do like the kind of spacey, intergalactic aesthetic that this song and many other songs on here bring. It's just that without a bold song to back that up, the sonic theme of this album just wears thin a little bit. Even if the band does draw up some pretty inspiring inspiring instrumental moments on the album here, like at the end of Medicine Hat, which takes a while to get towards its finish in terms of energy, but once it's there, the soaring guitar solos spattered with very glossy synthesizers, it sounds like a comet flying through a starry night sky. And the closing track on this record is actually pretty epic too. Personally, I think this record is decent. If you're a psych pop diehard, I think you should give it a listen. And maybe there will be some longtime fans that are a little disappointed to hear the gruffer, more distorted rock edge drift away from Pond's sound on this album. But I think the fact that they've just embraced a more poppy, sweeter, more instantaneous sound and just some really fun, danceable grooves has improved things. I'm feeling a strong 6 to a light 7 on this thing. Transition! If you've given this album a listen, what did you think of it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Why? What do you think I should review next? And that's it. Anthony Fantano, Pond Forever.